I loved his role as The Rock. You know, he does a really great job.
He does a great Rock.
Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Weekly Fix. My name is Jacob, and joining me as always is Zane, and we have another news-filled episode for you guys, because if you aren't familiar, we just had D23 this past weekend, and we got some more exciting news from Disney. Now, if you're not familiar with what D23 is, it is basically Disney's press conference where they announce some of the new content they have coming out to let their fans and also their shareholders know what to expect, maybe get a little idea of some income and sources of revenue, which is always fun to see what they're working on. But before we get into any of that news, Zane, how was your week?
Oh man, it was great. It was busy. I'm exhausted. Today I had a pretty heavy day after work, just trying to get a bunch of stuff done, cut my hair, try to fix my AC unit. Seems like it's maybe a little bit better, so we'll see. But yeah, been good. Amazing weekend. We got to watch an amazing basketball game, gold medal match between America and France. That was a blast. Steph Curry, the magician, got on full performance, and that was just such a blast to watch him. I got to watch it with Jacob and my brother Zach, and it was, man, such fun. And Kayla was there too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kayla. Thanks for joining and hosting. It was awesome. So good.
Yeah, the chef was definitely cooking.
That's right.
In that gold medal match. But one thing that I don't know that was necessarily cooking this past weekend, in my opinion, was Disney. Now, might be some controversial statements made here with what we got announced from Disney, but I'll go ahead and say overall for me, we'll get into some more deeper dives, really breaking down the stuff that we got announced to us, but I gotta say overall for me, it was a little bit of a letdown. I think we were expecting to see a whole lot more because we didn't really get a whole lot of SDCC. I think they really saved SDCC for the big Robert Downey Jr. bomb, which obviously that was a success in their eyes because of how many views it generated, but we were hoping D23 was going to give us a lot of announcements. Like you guys heard in the past episode when we did talk about some things coming from Marvel, we were hoping maybe we would get those 4 movies that had dates but no title yet, and seemingly we didn't get anything from that. And actually from Marvel, we got no new content announced. We just got some more news on things that were already in the works and things coming out in the near future. But that's my personal opinion. Zane, what was your overall feel of D23? Did it hit for you? Did it miss for you? Let me know what you're thinking.
It's a pretty big miss. I was disappointed in a bunch of it. Yeah, I really like kind of getting introduced to new things, what's coming down the line. I know with Bob Iger taking over, he's really kind of putting the reins to Marvel and making sure they reel it back in. But I really would have liked to have seen, if we know these dates are coming, they know what they're planning. I would have really liked to have seen those movies. I'm 0 for 2 in Marvel Clairvoyancy here recently. And the last title of are we Marvel Clairvoyant? Well, I am definitely not, because Deadpool Wolverine broke $1 billion, and not a single movie title was released, which I thought we were going to get all 4 movie titles. I thought it was going to be this big hype train and like, okay, Marvel's back on track. They now have a plan. And I just don't think they do yet. I still think the future of Marvel is kind of up in limbo, and I don't think they were ready to announce it all. I'm not a big trailer fan, and I think the biggest part of trailers to me has kind of lost its savor, especially since Echo. Because Echo really sold me on that trailer, and that thing was some hot garbage.
Yeah, that was so. Don't even get me started on Echo.
So I just like, a trailer can look good, and it can, but like I've lost the excitement, especially from Marvel, for trailers because I don't know what they're selling me. And so there's, I mean, of course, 2 minutes of a movie can look good, but the whole entirety of the movie with the story and everything else that goes into it, that's a completely different sandwich. So I don't know. It was a big miss for me. I did not love what they put out, even with the Star Wars stuff. We didn't get much announced at all for the future. Everything that we got announced was pretty much already known. And then we look at the Disney slate, and we're about to break that down, but I mean, it's 98% sequels. And that's something I think that Disney is just now kind of eliminating their creativity and playing it safe, a little bit of a greed monster there, and that worries me.
Well, one thing I will say, because I agree, I think it was a miss, but we did give DC a pass at SDCC for not coming out and giving us all sorts of information, because we both said maybe they're not ready. Maybe it's good that they're not just throwing out all this stuff yet because they're not there. Do you think we should give Marvel that kind of pass? Like maybe they want to just focus on what they're doing now. We've already seen them cut back on show releases. We've seen them cut back on movie releases. Do you think it's fair to give them a pass in the same way that we gave DC a pass for the lesser announcements?
I think one of the reasons it's not is because they have exact slated dates for Doomsday, and Secret Wars.
Okay.
And since I think we're missing key figures and key points of the story to get there, I don't really think it's the same.
Okay.
We really don't know where DC is headed. We don't know where they're established. They haven't really given us anything except for the title of the first thing, which is Monsters, Gods and Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really think we need to focus because we have Secret Wars coming in 3 years, and we have Doomsday coming in 2 years, and none of those movies coming out between then and there, between now and then, actually put us on the path to Doomsday.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that's why I don't give them a pass, is
Okay.
because we know the future, what the future holds somewhat, but there's just too many gaps to fill that are clear gaps they could have just told us.
Yeah, and I would like to have seen some updates on some of those shows also that we've been waiting on. I think I read today, actually, and I don't know how reliable of a source this is, but Armor Wars is apparently canceled. It's
Canceled.
kind of in limbo. Again, sources, I read that on X. So how reliable this one post was is
My
hard
time
to
to
tell.
shine, baby.
Exactly. So it's hard to tell, but that's the stuff I really wanted to see was
Okay.
some of those updates. I would have loved to have heard. We kind of been hearing the murmurings of a Moon Knight season 2. I would have liked to have seen something like that at this. I feel like, again, I agree that they were lacking in the movie category, but I was really hoping the shows would really get some spotlight here at D23, because we got nothing on shows at SDCC. And at least we did get some of the movies with the Avengers stuff getting announced there. So I was really hoping for some show stuff here.
And we did get a little bit of show stuff, but not anything drastic.
New. Yeah, or new.
Or nothing new.
Exactly. So that's what I was really looking for. But we'll get to the Marvel stuff. Let's go ahead and start with some of the Disney original content, which you hinted at is mostly sequels.
Right.
We're going to go through all the things that were announced at D23 for the most part. There might be a thing or two we miss if it doesn't seem all that important to us. But for the most part, we're going to try to break down everything that we did get seen. And I think we'll start off with probably arguably the biggest one on the list, probably Frozen 3. I think that's probably, in my opinion, as far as,
Is that your favorite one on the list?
No, absolutely not.
And we're starting with Frozen 3.
Yeah, we'll start with Frozen 3. That's definitely not, I haven't even seen the first two movies.
Okay.
So I just think as far as,
Jacob is an avid lover of Frozen.
Yes.
Do not let him fool you. He
I
has
have
a
all
picture.
I have the plushies. I got it all.
He has
No.
Anna and Elsa on his wall. He's actually wearing a Frozen shirt right now.
And the hat. Don't get him mixed up.
Oh,
but no, I think as far as, money wise, Frozen 3 would probably be the biggest one on this list that you would expect to really generate some income. There's another one on this list, and I'm interested to hear your take, because they also just had an insane run in the movie theaters. And we'll get to that here. And it's not Inside Out, but it's kind of like I guess you would say like a series in between the two movies. It's not really, so kind of a sequel, but not really any of that stuff. But Frozen 3. We really only got a date for this one. We really didn't get any other stories, but I did read that they think this is going to be one of 2 more movies.
Okay.
So we're probably going to get a Frozen 4 down the road at some point.
Why
Were you
not?
shocked? Yeah, they make money. I'm sure they would make 5, 6, and 7 if they could.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see Frozen here, or?
I'm surprised it's not sooner.
Okay.
So 2027 seems far out for something that I thought they had announced was down the line already.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little surprised that it's 2027. I'm not surprised they're making a new one, but my daughter's gonna love it.
Right.
So how can I hate on it when Charlie's gonna flip at the theater? I don't think the first one is very good. Actually, I think Frozen fails quite short of like Tangled. I think Tangled is a significantly better princess movie, but the second one's better. It's got Brendan Urie singing at the end, so I'm always a Brendan Urie fan.
That gave it a point on Zane's rating.
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. Greatest male voice currently today. I don't know if that's a hot take. Jacob hates music,
Yeah,
so it doesn't matter.
I don't even know what he sounds like. So,
but anyway, that's a hot take. But anyway, Frozen 3, I think Disney, playing it safe.
Yeah, I think so too. And you again touched on the sequel things. Moving on to the next one though, that's not a sequel. Sounds like it's going to be a brand new thing, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. But it's either Elio or Elio, something along those lines. And this film is basically about a boy who is mistakenly identified as the leader of Earth and is abducted by aliens. Now, I think this one might be kind of fun. I think Disney could do a really good job playing on like the outer space element. I think the animation will be really cool. I think it'll be kind of funny. I kind of get like a little bit of Chicken Little vibes from it in a
absolutely.
sense. So I think they might be playing on that a little bit, kind of getting those ideas from. But Zoe Saldana is supposed to be in the voice cast, which pretty big name, for a new IP. Anything on this one that was special to you or excited you maybe for this one?
I thought this one actually had a pretty good story. It looks a little bit animation style, kind of especially the television screens in the control room for the mom kind of reminded me of Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is an amazing animation film on Netflix, which I think anyone should watch. It's really, really good. Mitchell's versus the Machines, but it kind of gave me that kind of vibe there. And then it seems like a fun premise. It's going to be funny. I don't know how clever or like if it's really going to be like a decent movie, or maybe it's just going to harp on how terrible humans are because he goes to the syndicate of like all alien creatures, and Earth is on trial. So this little kid has to defend Earth and all of its atrocities, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a humanity slander film or if it's going to actually be good and have a story. I don't know. But it did look interesting. Like you said, animation, aliens, whenever you get creativity like that, you're going to be able to do some cooler stuff, and it's going to be visually pleasing. So I'm excited for this one, probably more than most of them on this list, because I don't like that Disney is just defaulting to sequels now.
Yeah, no, this one, that's what excited me about this one, is that it's its own thing. I think I kind of have the opposite opinion. You think it might be some slandering of humanity. I think it could be kind of like what humanity looks like through a child's eyes and how they can appreciate the little things. I think that might be his premise throughout the movie, is trying to convince the aliens as to why, we're good. Show them the good in humans, which I think could be a really heartfelt message and really fun. So this is definitely one of the higher ones on my list. Now, one that, I was just hinting at with the Inside Out 2 is Dream Productions. Now, this one is going to be a series streaming on Disney Plus seemingly in 2025, and it is set between the events of Inside Out and Inside Out 2, and the series follows Dream Productions, the movie studio inside of Riley's minds that makes up her dreams. Now, I don't see this one being anything short of a hit. I'm sure this is going to be watched by lots of people. And I think it's cool that they're coming to a series format. It's going to be on Disney Plus, which is really exciting. And we have a couple of other things on here that I'm excited about that are coming to Disney Plus. But what did you think about this one? I think this was pretty smart.
I think this is a big hit. I think Dream Productions, how the mind makes dreams for you when you sleep, and what they did in the movies with that, I think it plays very well to a TV show. And it seems kind of like Monsters at Work, the Monsters Inc. spinoff, which is really, really good. It's a solid series. It's fun on Disney Plus. It's good for kids. I think this is a great content for Disney Plus, and kind of what it really should be kind of catering to, because it does seem more like a children's IP. Disney Plus, it is for that. So I do like this smaller scale Pixar kind of productions into TV shows, which this is, I guess, the second Pixar TV shows that we got announced. So.
Yes, so that's super cool. Again, I really like when they're taking the ideas and giving us these kind of, I think this is going to be a mini series. I don't think they've announced how many episodes.
I have no clue.
I would guess probably 6 to 8. I don't see this being like a 13, 14 episode thing, but it very well could be.
This could be hundreds of episodes.
Yeah, it could be. And maybe it's just different dreams and all sorts of stuff, which could be really fun.
I assume they're going to be like 15-minute episodes of kind of like a recap of her day in dream form.
Okay.
And so if this is between Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2, which it said, like, that's a bunch of space.
Fair enough.
She was quite a bit older, so this could be years of content for them.
Yeah, so that would be really cool. Again, I think this one will be a big hit. Now, one of the ones, I've not watched a lot of these Disney original movies, but one that I have watched is Moana. And I actually really enjoy this one. It's really fun. But Moana 2, November 27th, so this year, it's Moana taking up the role as the chief leader of her tribe, and she now has a younger sister. So I think there's going to be some things that they need to explain, obviously, but it's Disney, so they might not even explain it. They might just kind of throw us right into it. But this one, I think, is one that could be fun. Now, this one could have some troubling events because I think originally this one was supposed to be a show.
Okay.
I don't think this was supposed to be a movie. And then they did change it to a movie in the last few months, which I'm not surprised because they could make more money off the movie than they would at a Disney Plus show. But I think this one will be pretty good. What do you think of this one?
I'm just curious, what do they need to explain about her having a sibling?
Oh, I'm more so the tribal leader thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the sister.
I was like, Jacob, I don't.
No, I don't think they're going to explain that.
I don't
to
think
kids.
they need to cover that in a Disney show.
No. I think more so like the tribal leader stuff is where I'm hinting at is what they need to
Okay.
explain that part of it.
Okay, yeah, how she fully is chief now. Yeah, I think it's going to be a hit. I think it's going to be a blast. I think we're going to take Charlie to this one. I think that'll be her first movie.
Awesome.
So I'm actually really excited for Moana too. I really like the first one. The music was awesome.
Yes.
I don't think Lin-Manuel is going to be back to do the music for this. So that's sad for me because I really like everything that he does essentially. But yeah, I think this one's going to be great.
Yeah, and I'm excited that Dwayne Johnson's back for this one because, I think he's probably the best part of these movies. And we're going to talk about a Dwayne Johnson thing up next.
And
which
Dwayne
is
Johnson.
He's really getting some
One of the
spotlight.
best actors today. He's right up there.
I loved his role as The Rock. He does a really great job.
He does a great Rock.
But anyway, the Dwayne Johnson movie is Monster Jam. Now, this is a movie that he stars in that is about monster truck drivers. Now, that is about all the news that we got for this one. They were pretty shallow on the news for this one, which I don't know why they wouldn't tell us much more about it. But do you have any opinions on this one?
I'm just curious, is it the same concept of monster trucks, which was monsters that were trucks?
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that movie.
No, I did not, but I don't, like I said, that is all I know about this
There
one.
was a movie where monsters went into trucks and it was like Transformers, but it was
they're
monsters, and it was horrible.
Okay.
So I was curious if it was a continuation of that because I think
sure
that
hope
was
not.
Disney, and man, what a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I'm not a massive Dwayne The Rock Johnson fan. He's fine, but he brings people to the screen. I've heard.
Yeah, no, he does pretty good for himself, I'd say. I think he might be one of the most the highest net worth actors out there, so I think he does pretty well.
But he's actually had quite a few flops here lately,
Black
quite a bit.
Adam and
Jungle Cruise was a Disney
Yep.
movie that kind of really fell on its face. So I don't know if they have full faith in Dwayne Johnson anymore.
He might not, but his name I think still carries.
It still carries.
Yeah, it'll
something.
carry. I will say this is my least excited movie for the Disney original content. This is the one I couldn't care less about. I think I would take all the other movies on this list for me personally. So I'd be interested to see, once we get to the end of the list, what you think. I don't know if maybe this is also your least favorite one.
Probably my most excited.
Most excited.
Zane's
Zane's a big
Monster
Dwayne
Jam.
Johnson fan.
Yeah, look, I got a poster of him on the wall behind us right now. No,
Right.
just kidding. Yeah, no, I'm probably right there with you. I think this is probably the worst IP released.
And maybe
that
that's why they
stated.
didn't give us much news on it because they know it's not going to hit that hard. But
I
maybe
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. Maybe they have all the faith in it. Maybe that's all they thought they needed to say was
Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson. People just rave to the
they bought their
theaters.
tickets right
Yeah.
then. But anyway, moving on to another movie that is a sequel that I personally don't want them to continue with this one. And Zane's probably laughing at me for this because my most anticipated movie on here is definitely a sequel. But Incredibles 3 is in the works, and they didn't really give us much information on this one either, other than it's in theaters soon. Do you take anything of that? Do you think it's next year, 2 years from now? Where do you think this movie comes in the timeline?
Who knows? I would say probably 2026.
Okay.
So soon is relative. It's an amazing word you can use to mean whatever you want it
Yep.
to mean. And in hindsight, everyone's like, well, that was soon compared to 100 years from now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Incredibles 3 to me seems like more of a complete trilogy. I do understand how that can move forward. And I think that has a natural progression with our characters. I think maybe we get to see Dash and the sister kind of
Violet.
Dash and Violet kind of move out of the house and kind of get to see the parents' life without them there and maybe moving on to the next stage of life. I think that can be really interesting, and especially with superheroes and how they deal with those powers. Maybe Violet's, leaving college now and Dash is about to go to college or something, and we get to see Jack in high school. I don't know. I think this one actually lends itself to a third film more than some of the others on this list. It's a natural progression of a family, and as families progress who watch the original ones, it's always fun to kind of see the characters you watched as a child progress as well. So I like this. So
See, the first Incredibles movies is one of my favorite I love that movie.
Yeah, it's
And it was
number two
also-
for both of us. I
Yeah,
believe.
but it was
Or one
also
for you.
I'm not sure. I don't
I think it was one for you.
It might have been. But it's also a movie I didn't even like when
JK,
we got
it's
a
Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know why I had that even thought process in my mind. But it's also a movie I wasn't super excited about when I heard we were getting a second one, and I
Yeah.
don't know why, because I love the first one so much. You would think, especially when we get to the next movie here in a couple minutes that we're going to talk about. But this is just a series I don't know that I haven't been super excited about. I think maybe just because I have such a fondness for that first one.
But did you feel like the second one closed out the series? Like it gave it like a satisfying end?
Well, see, I felt like the first one didn't really either.
Exactly.
So-
That's why I thought it lended itself well to sequels.
I think that was one of those movies I just enjoyed the thought of like, where did they go? You know, I didn't even necessarily, again, this goes back to us needing to see things and not seeing things. I think that's been like a running joke on the podcast for a long time now. I love just thinking about where it could have gone and stuff like that. I don't have to see it. So I think maybe that's why this one maybe feels that way for me. But no, I think it'll
So
it'll
why
be a
make
big
any
movie.
movies? You could just imagine them
Well,
all.
no, I have to have a base level.
Okay.
They have to give me the base, and then I can run with it from there. But you know, this one I'm sure it'll be a big hit. Another one that I'm super excited about is the second series that we get from D23, and that is Win or Lose. That one comes out December 6th. It is the first original series from Pixar, and the trailer is out now, and it's about a baseball team that isn't very good. It looks like they're battling some things throughout the kids' lives and stuff. I think this one will be really fun.
Yeah.
No, this one, not excited for this one.
So I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from this, especially from at least two of our listeners, because I hate baseball. like I really dislike watching
Uh-huh.
it. And this to me looks like The Benchwarmers, but
Okay.
done poorly for children. Because I love the movie The Benchwarmers.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing, hilarious, all-time classic comedy, done well. And this one just seems like it's been done. It's
Yeah.
been done a ton. I don't really need a series on it. And, if it was basketball, I think I'd be all about it.
Right.
But another
Baseball.
baseball thing. It's so disinteresting of a sport. They have to make so many movies about it to like make it interesting.
Yeah, if some fans were just triggered by that
Yeah,
statement.
Peyton, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Peyton.
But no, I'm actually excited for this one. I really like the animation in the trailer. I thought the animation
hated
was really.
it.
You didn't like it.
I don't like that.
See, I liked the animation.
It's kind of that Luca animation where they
Yes.
got the stupid noses and
yeah,
they're
see,
all
I
round.
love that. So I love that animation.
See,
style.
I'm more of a
Clear
treasure planet,
Okay.
Atlantis kind of animation guy. I really like that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, this
It
one just sounds like it is not for
Nah,
you. Yeah,
I watched that trailer and I was like,
skip.
well, I'll probably end up watching it sometime. But
Right.
I don't know. It was not excitement for me.
Well, one that was exciting for me, it is my number one movie on the Disney original content list, is Toy Story 5. Now, this one I'm so excited about. And it's funny, like I said, I'm not happy about the incredible sequels, but give me all the Toy Story sequels ever. I will take them every day of the week. This one comes out in summer of 2026. And I really think this one has a fun storyline to it. This is going to be the toys facing off against electronics. So the toys trying to battle with the iPad kids, which I think is hilarious. I think that's going to be super fun. They did give us a little bit of a hint that the villains of the movie are going to be 50 Buzz Lightyear stuck in a malfunctioning play mode. I didn't really like that as much because it's similar to what they did in Toy Story. Is it 3?
Yep, 3
Where
where
he
he had
gets-
the Spanish
Yeah.
one factory reset.
Yeah, so I don't like that as much. I think that's kind of just recycled content. But it could be fun.
Yeah,
I think
recycled content.
I think it'll be funny. But no, Toy Story 5, obviously, it's recycled content. But no, this one I'm super excited about. Toy Story is one of my all-time favorite franchises. I absolutely love it. So I'm pumped for this one. I don't think you're as pumped for it as I am.
Well, I can't wait to see how they end the series the third time. like give them a real proper send off this time.
Well, rumor has it that there's going to be a Funko Pop as one of the toys.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm excited
now
for that.
you're really
Yeah, I'm
about
buying 2 tickets.
it. Yeah, 2 days.
One for me and one for one of my Freddy Funkos to come and sit with me.
Ooh, yeah. You're gonna have to get a Buzz Lightyear Freddy Funko.
I already have one.
Oh,
So
I know. To come with you,
Right.
that's right. But yeah, Toy Story 5 is fine. Toy Story 3 I thought was great. I think
Yeah.
it's the most underrated of the Toy Stories. It's actually my favorite Toy Story film, and
Mhm.
I think it should really kind of have been the finish episode. I didn't like what they did with the fourth one. It was fine, but I don't know. I just don't really understand continuing this story when they have other IPs that they could really focus on and kind of invest in. I do like the iPad Kid kind of thing, but I feel like they could have just done that with a different like generation, like a different
Not Toy
IP,
Story.
not Toy Story. And I know what they're doing. They need the money. Like it's a money printer.
Oh,
Everyone who likes Toy Story is going to go except for me. So
it's getting my money. I'm seated. This might be one of those. If they do like an early showing, I'll be there.
oh, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Jacob has work the next day. It
I
does
don't
not
care.
matter.
No.
He's taking off.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
probably will.
It's like the new COD.
I might send my malfunctioning Buzz Lightyear into work for me. So, oh, and new CODs, of course. I'm always taking those days off. But Toy Story 5, I'm super excited for that one. One that you kind of hinted at that you're not really excited for is Hopper. Now, this is a movie about a girl that switches brains with a beaver to learn the secrets of beaver society. It will have John Hamm voicing the mayor who is trying to destroy the beaver's home. Obviously, you can kind of see where this movie is going. They're trying to make you feel sentimental for the beavers and their way of life and stuff. I think this one will be fun, but you didn't seem as excited for this one.
I just feel like it's kind of like a rehash of Over the Hedge, except
Okay,
maybe a little bit more poorly done. We don't really need a Freaky Friday with
a beaver.
with a beaver in order to feel compassion for a beaver. Like animals, you can feel compassion for animals without switching a human into their body. Like, and I think that's kind of like where Over the Hedge is like one of my favorite like animation films. I absolutely love it. I think it's got a great soundtrack. I think it's a blast. I thought my brother was like Hammy, and so like I always got to laugh at him more. And so that was just like such a fun movie. And I feel like this is just kind of like rehashing the same concept, maybe just slightly different. I don't know. Not interested in this one, but the next one is actually my most excited film on this list.
Well, go ahead and let us know what the next one is, because I think it's going to be a very fun one.
The next one's Zootopia 2, which I am absolutely very excited for. Miss Hops and man, Jason Bateman's Fox. Sneaky Fox. I just love Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman, I think, is one of the most underrated comedic actors of our time. I think his dry humor doesn't get enough credit. I think he's absolutely incredible. And I'm very excited for these characters to be back on screen. And I think the buddy cop vibes that they have go very well in an animation. It's not really something we see in Disney. We don't see buddy cop like actual mysteries for solving crimes a lot. So Great Mouse Detective is a film that I grew up on. That's a Disney film that like a lot of people may have not even seen. And I think it kind of has some of those vibes, just done with new characters, new animation. I think the animation style in this one is fun. I think it's always a lot easier for Disney to do animated animals than it is to do animated humans, because there's the uncanny valley with humans that kind of you can get too close or you can get way too far off, and it can kind of look odd. But with animals, you can really have fun with it and kind of exaggerate them, and no one's like, "Wow, that looks funny,"
right?
Because it's an animal.
Yeah.
So I love Zootopia. I think it's one of the best films that they put out in the last decade for Disney animation, and I'm very excited for the sequel because I think the story lends itself well to sequels, and I think that's kind of like the continuation of that story is just natural. Like, okay, what's their next investigation? What's the next thing that they got to tackle? So I think that one's going to be fun.
Well, I haven't seen Great Mouse Detective, and I also have not seen the first Zootopia. So this one I could leave or take.
Oh,
I don't really care too much for this one, but maybe I do need to watch it. It sounds like this one is actually pretty good.
Judy Hopps is a blast, and Jason Bateman is just a pleasure. It's just a pleasure to listen to.
Okay.
Like, and how his voice acting is just as good as his regular acting. And I know you haven't like seen a ton of comedies, but like Horrible Bosses and stuff like that, and Date Night, man. Actually, he's in Game Night. Date Night's Michael Fox, not Michael Fox. Good Lord,
Man.
Steve Carell.
Steve Fox.
Michael J. Fox is in this. No, Steve Carell. Steve Carell is in Date Night, and Jason Bateman is in Game Night, which is a great comedy.
Well, so I might need to watch Zootopia, but you're excited for this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think the voice cast is good. We also have another key actor. Ki Kwan is coming into this one, which will be cool. But no, I think this one will be good. Zane's excited for this one. As you guys heard, this is his most anticipated. But the last of the Disney original content that we are going to get to, and me and Zane have had a little bit of a split, feeling on this one. And this is the live action Stitch movie. We got our first look at Stitch in live action. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pose a question to you guys out there, and I'm excited to hear what you guys say. And you guys have all the forms that you can reach out to us on. We have the Instagram, we have the X. Make sure to reach out out to us and let us know the answer to this question. Do you think the live action Stitch is creepy looking? Because I'm under the impression he's got a little bit of funk to him. He's a little creepy looking guy. The eyes are really buggy, but Zane thinks he's pretty adorable. So let us know in that, on X, Instagram, wherever you want to reach out to us, what you guys think. But live action Stitch, are you excited for this one, or do you think this is a live action movie we don't really need?
I love Lilo and Stitch. I think it's great. But I just don't really understand why we need it live action. We got the story, and every live action one they've done, I've not liked as much as the animated film. I think the best one may have been Beauty and the Beast was pretty good live action. But I mean, the genie, probably Aladdin. I thought Aladdin was done pretty well. I thought Will Smith did significantly better than he was expected to in the Aladdin live action. And I thought that one was decent. But I mean, none of them are as good as the animated films. They add way too much for them. They're always way too long. And they don't really add anything to the story that wasn't already told. And so I'm not personally super excited for this one. I like Stitch. I like Lilo and Stitch, but I don't think making something live action makes it higher quality or a better thing. I think animation is underrated in the fact that people are like, man, I'd love to see this in live action. Well, I mean, you got to see it in animation. I don't see why we have to have it in live action. But that's just my personal opinion. If we're going to make something live action, just go ahead and make a different continuation or something else from it. Tell a different story. I think we see that in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, absolute garbage. Where the animated series was one of the best ones in my opinion. So I just personally, I'm not a big proponent of changing animated into live action.
I'm the same way. I hate that they're doing this personally. I hate all of the live action adaptations. I think they're all terrible. And we're going to get to Star Wars next on the list, but that's kind of a theory I've heard a lot of people or some fans wanting is they would love for them to do a live action series of the Clone Wars.
Boo.
Yeah, I think that's just we don't need it. We've talked about how much a big point for me with the Acolyte is that it was an original story. It's not something we had on. They was completely new characters and all that stuff. And that's how I feel about doing this live action thing. I think like you touched on it, if they're going to do it, they need to make it a new story or make it a continuation of the story and, change it up. Don't try to do the same thing. So I feel the same way. I think this is a big waste of time. It's probably going to do pretty good in the theaters, I would guess. I think a lot of people are going to go just because we really haven't had any Lilo and Stitch content at all. I think there was a TV show.
There's a big TV show.
Yeah.
And it was good.
Yeah, it was because it was similar to, it was fun. They had the different aliens and all that stuff. But no, I'm not a fan of this one. And, I think this one is probably my second least anticipated on our list. Like I said, Monster Jam was for me. I'm not really looking forward to this one. And that's coming from someone that's never even seen Frozen, Zootopia, and some of these other movies. That's how uninterested I am in this one.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of our Disney original content stuff that we had coming out. They got the bulk of the news for sure.
Oh,
not even close. But we have some other stuff we're going to be talking about, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into Star Wars, which didn't have a big showing. I did expect a little bit more from Star Wars, which I wish we had speculated on what we were going to get from Star Wars in the past episodes of the podcast. We kind of completely forgot to talk about what we expected from D23 Star Wars. But the first thing, and probably my favorite thing that we got here, because the other two things that we didn't really get a whole lot on, but we did finally get the trailer for Skeleton Crew. Now that's coming out on December 3rd. We finally got a date. I've been high on this show for a while now. I've been telling you I think it's going to be a really fun show. It's going to be really cool. I like that it's an original story. I like the direction that they're going with it. I think the cast looks pretty good in the trailer. What did you think of this one?
This one seemed to spark my interest a little bit more. When I hear kids go on an adventure, I don't get excited. That's not really my cup of tea, which is hilarious because Stand By Me, an all-time classic movie. Yes. We got Stranger Things, absolutely great. Goonies. So I don't understand why I have that stigma toward it, but man, I just meh. I don't know. But it was decent. It didn't seem to be great for me, but it did give me more excitement than I had. So that's a good thing for a trailer. It seemed fun. A lot of people are complaining about the suburbs in Star Wars, and I really think that's stupid.
I do too.
I don't understand why we can't have diverse planets hey, one planet has a suburb. If we have Coruscant, why can't we have a suburb?
Yeah,
like
but-
we have a planet that's literally entirely a city. You don't think somewhere out in this vast galaxy we have a suburb? What a bunch of weirdos.
Don't even get me started on that, because how many times do we hear people complain about always being on Tatooine?
Yeah,
We're finally getting new planets and new stuff in Star Wars, and people are like, "That's so stupid." Which that was one of my. I saw that and I was like, "That looks very visually pleasing." That planet.
Now, do we know when this is set?
I don't think there's probably someone out there that does know. I haven't done too much research on the timeline for this show. I'm sure they have said it at some point, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, the only thing that was kind of for that reason is kind of like, what Jedi did we see in the trailer? Because the guy did float the keys to him with the Force.
Yep.
And I'm curious who's locked up. I'm under the impression that this is during the Empire's rule.
Okay.
Kind of why
I would
he's
think so,
locked
too.
up, maybe why that's not necessarily prevalent at the time. I don't know, but it did seem fun. It did seem like a fun premise. Kids going on an adventure, getting stuck in a hyper ship, going somewhere.
I have no
and
idea.
No idea. I'm just worried about pacing, and I think that's the Disney Plus curse, is that they don't know how to pace a show.
No, they don't. And it's kind of goes down to they don't give them enough episodes to do stuff. And,
I don't think that's true.
Oh, really? See, that's my personal problem. I think some of these shows need 12, 13 episodes.
I think they just need to know how to write and to like carry the show, because like you think it's just time, right? It's not like you think about episodes. It's just think about how much time you have in a 6-episode series. Like that's 6 hours. You should be able to tell a cohesive story
agree
in
with
6
that.
hours.
I agree with that. I just feel like some of these things, I just feel like they need a little bit more. I think
Yeah.
Andor benefited greatly from being
They did.
multiple episodes.
But I also think that they could have cut out a few of the first episodes and still had the exact same
See,
story.
I don't think it would have been like I don't think it would have grabbed you as much.
I don't think it would have, because you get to lose a little bit of in touch with the characters, but that's character building, and maybe they got the ability to tell that at the start, but it wasn't necessary.
Like essential content.
Like it wasn't like essential content. Like if you strike some of those episodes, like Andor's now bad. Like you can literally take, and yeah, you don't get some of Killian's. It's Killian, Cassian's.
Oh, Cassian.
You don't get as much of Cassian's story, but like you don't really have to. That whole thing with his sister and looking for her, like that's not necessarily like a needed point in Andor. Like it's fine. Like it's a good aspect of it, but I like that it's added because it adds to his character,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's necessarily needed. And I think that's kind of the thing they dealt well with the last episode so much that you can kind of get over their misuse of the first episodes that didn't really play into the overall story as much. And that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I still, I agree with those things. I do think if they gave them a few more episodes for these shows, I think Acolyte would have benefited from it. I definitely
Don't
do.
make me watch any more Acolyte. No.
I think it would have benefited from it though, because it felt like times where the pacing was off. But if they'd had a few more episodes, they may have been able to string some of those storylines together a little better.
Man,
and I
but
think when
like
you're
even
given,
like Werewolf by Night was just one special. It wasn't even the length of the movie, and it did so much with so little.
well, and I
I
see.
just think they can do it. I just don't think they're hiring good show writers.
So that's what I'm going to get at where I was going with that. I think some people definitely can. But I
Yeah.
think with some of these newer directors and stuff, it's their first time ever doing a big project like this. I think
Crazy.
giving them a couple extra episodes probably would really help them. Maybe that's not what we need, but I think it would be beneficial to them. But speaking on Andor, we did get some season 2 announcements. We did hear that it's coming out in 2025. And I think the most interesting thing about this one is the entire show is going to take place over the span of 4 years. And every 3 episodes, we are going to jump a year in time. And I'm really interested to see how they do this, because talking about pacing issues, this could be one of those things where we feel really, really rushed. Or it could be one of those things where we feel like they drag on a year just for the sake of dragging it on.
It's 12 episodes, right?
Yes.
So-
Well, I don't. Well, by this, it would have
Yeah,
to be.
4 years, three episodes in each. I personally don't understand why they announced that.
Yeah, it was
are they
kind of-
trying to rush it into Rogue One?
I believe so. I think it's only going to get 2 seasons.
There's not enough story to tell between where he ended season 1 and Rogue One that they have to kind of rush it.
Yeah, well, whether you agree with that statement, like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, there probably is plenty of stuff they could do, but I do think they want to get this one to Rogue One as quick as possible, because I think they're going to do something after that, maybe another movie after Rogue One.
Spoiler alert
Yeah,
for Rogue One.
episode
There's
4.
not much to tell with
Well,
these
but like
characters.
some of them there are though still. Like some like I think it's gonna be more of the side characters that we
Okay.
have in Andor. Like I'm interested to see what happens to Luthen throughout the I think he could die in this. He could have his own spin-off show because I think he's been one of the fan favorites of the show. But I think there's also some cool news with Krennic coming back. Who was the main villain of Rogue One, which I'm super excited about, which is Ben Mendelsohn. Then we have Forrest Whitaker coming back as Saw Gerrera, which is a really cool character. And then one of our listeners' favorite side characters, K2SO, is coming back, which I'm super excited to kind of hear the origin of how he kind of does become Cassian's droid. I think that's going to be really fun. I think that's going to be a year in and of itself, is that whole relationship.
Yeah, K2SO.
Yeah.
And I do think he was one of the better parts of Rogue One.
Yeah. No, he was super fun. So I'm excited for this one.
It looked great.
It did look really good. We did see kind of a little bit of some teaser stuff, which is super exciting. But 2025, so we have a little bit of time for this one, which I think originally this one was slated for the end of this year, and I think it got pushed back.
Not much. 2026, right? Oh, for Andor.
Yeah, for Andor. So I think this one's pretty, I think it got pushed back a little bit, which I'm fine with them taking some time with this one. I think it's their golden apple.
If they mess up Andor, they've done some like a great injustice.
Yes.
To the first season, because that first season could have just been left.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And we know where his character ends. We can kind of fill in the gaps. I'm pulling to Jacob here, and we can fill in the gaps.
We can imagine.
We can imagine, him helping the rebellion up until Rogue One. No, but I hope they do it justice. That little detail of them saying it's over 4 years, jumping a year every 3 episodes. I just feel like that's weird. Like, I'm curious what story they started with that caused that, because I always think when you start with a show or something, you need a story you want to tell, and then you figure the schedule out to that. And I hope that that's what the case was. Not they were like, hey, if we told this over 4 years and we skipped every 3 episodes, that's a really cool story device. I hope they didn't start there and then try to fit the story around that, because I think that would be thinking backwards, and I don't like that.
Well, and it does bring concern, because are each of these years going to be a complete story, or are we going to get like some of it and then not really know what happened for the rest of that year?
Yeah, like 4 miniseries.
Yeah, or are they going to like bleed into each other in one way or another? So I think that's going to be very interesting. I do think it is a cool concept if they can pull it off. But I think that is a tall task. Now, I think if there is a crew for Star Wars that can do it, it's definitely the Andor crew. They're probably the most talented that we've ever had in Star Wars, as far as shows are concerned. So I think they definitely are capable of it, but it's going to be interesting to see for sure. Moving on to finally Star Wars coming back to the big screens, which I'm super pumped about. It's been a while since we've got to see a Star Wars movie in theaters, but we did get some little sneak peeks and some looks at The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is slated for May 22nd, 2026. And we did get a little bit of a teaser that showed the return of the Razor Crest, and that Zeb Aurelius from Star Wars Rebels will be appearing, which I think is really cool. And I also don't think that this is the return of the Razor Crest. I think I have a thought process on this, and I'd like to hear what you think about it. I personally think that's Zeb's ship.
What happened to the Razor Crest?
In the episode that he meets Boba Fett, that's when they blow it up.
Yeah.
So I don't think, well, a lot of people think they built another one. I think this is just Zeb's Razor Crest. I don't think it's the Mandalorians, and a lot of people are upset about that. I just don't think they're bringing the ship back.
You don't think this is like the ship of Theseus?
Never. No, I don't.
If you build the ship from the parts, is it the ship of Theseus?
Yeah. No, I don't think that's the case. I think this will be a completely different ship, which I know a lot of people are arguing about. But May 22nd, 2026. It's about a little over about a year and a half now at this point. We're getting closer to that point. I'm kind of surprised they gave us a definite date on this one.
I'm not. I think it's fine to give it. It's plenty of time out, right? And we saw the sets being built there, which was my most encouraging thing, that they weren't like, hey, this will be entirely shot on the volume.
Yeah.
No, hey, we're gonna move to real live built sets, and the sets they did build for it that they showed were incredible. They looked very well done. They looked very Star Warsy, which is a very good thing for a Star Wars movie. And I was very happy with that. So I think this one's going to be a hit. I'm not too worried about this one. I think they're really going to focus on our main characters. Bo-Katan's going to kind of take a back seat. We're going to really get to see where this Mando story goes. I think we're going to get to pull in some of our other characters that we love. I think that's kind of really accentuated with them showing Zeb coming back.
Mhm.
With Zeb coming back, I think we get a chance for all of our rebels, and I'm very excited for that.
So, really early question I want to ask. This is Star Wars, probably their biggest character right now. I don't think it's even close. I mean, the Mandalorian show trumps all the other shows as far as views are concerned. Every single season, every time something gets put up against it, the Mandalorian is always on top. What do you think this movie does in the box office?
$1 billion.
Do you really think so, or do you think? I think it has potential. I think it's the first Star Wars
I think
movie.
that's just my default now.
Just gonna start with $1 billion.
$1 billion, man.
I think this, but if there was a Star Wars movie that has potential to do it, it's been a while since we've been in the theaters. I think Star Wars fans are going to be excited to go to the theaters. This is a big character. Everyone's, girlfriend,
Tickets will be $25 by that point.
Right. It'll be easy. We'll be probably guessing if movies will hit $2 billion by then.
Yeah.
But what do you think this one does in the box office? Do you think this is a big hit, or do you think we see this one settle more in that $500-600 million range?
I think it's going to be a little bit, Star Wars Episode 7.
Okay.
So very, but not quite. I think it's almost back to that hype for this character because of the things you just said, but I don't think we're quite there. I think we've had so much distrust from Disney for Star Wars that I think it's going to be lowered. And I think it depends on what they do between now and then. If between now and then we get a few more stinkers of shows that are super divisive, I think we start losing people. I think the hate watch kind of turns to not watch, and I think they lose some fans. So I think it really hinges on the next few years of shows, whether we get a big turnout for Mando and Grogu or not.
Okay. I think that's fair enough, because I think that's a good point to make, which I think brings more pressure on stuff like Skeleton Crew and/or Season 2. I'm not sure we'll get Ahsoka Season 2 by that point. It might be pretty close. I wouldn't be surprised if we do, but I don't see Ahsoka Season 2 coming out before this. I think probably after. But it is a year and a half away. So,
well, if Andor Season 2 is only coming out now in 2025, I really don't think we get Ahsoka before then.
That's what I'm saying. So I think it's a long shot. So, but there's got to be something else.
Maybe.
I would hope. That's a long, if we get Andor, I think it's supposed to be pretty early in 2025. So we could go a real long time without Star Wars.
That might be good.
It could.
You see what Deadpool and Wolverine have done.
Yeah, just getting a little break.
If we get Skeleton Crew, Andor, a few animated shows, I mean, if Andor's the last thing they see before Grogu, I think that may be really beneficial to Mando and Grogu.
Just to keep people itching for it.
Yeah, we haven't seen Star Wars in so long.
It's back in the movies.
Yeah, now it's on the big screen. It's back in the movies. I think that's a really good bonus to that movie.
Well, you touched on something, animated shows. Vacant from D23, and we have no idea what the next Star Wars animated show is going to be. Do you think we get something by then? Because we haven't gotten an announcement on any new animated shows.
I think we get an Omega. I think we get an Omega show that kind of follows her, and then she kind of will get cast and put into this world.
Okay, which I think could be really cool. I think that I liked the ending of the Bad Batch. That one was one I think you could say lends itself well to a sequel.
Yep.
Because
where's she going to go?
Yeah, where is she going? We know she's going off to fight with the rebels as a pilot. We could see like a Hera meetup or something like that because they've met in the Bad Batch. So that could be a fun storyline. I really hope we get something animated because I love the animated Star Wars stuff. I think it's some of the best stories, but nothing here at D23. So I'll be excited to see when something like that gets announced. But that's kind of all the Star Wars stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on here before we move on to our next topic?
No, I think it's just another lackluster D23 panel.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know, like we said, we have no clue what's coming out for Star Wars, so there's not something that I can say they should have announced this like I can with Marvel, because I just don't know. I don't know what their future holds, and I mean they're kind of milking this timeline dry.
Yeah,
I mean, so what else are they going to shove in here?
Well, if you think about it, Mandalorian Grogu, John Filoni and Dave Favreau both said they've only been filming for 2 weeks at the time of D23. So I think this was a last minute ad. Okay. I don't think that this was planned to be here. I think they were kind of like, shoot, we only have 2 Star Wars things to talk about. We need something big. So I think really it was just those 2 things. I think the Mandalorian Grogu stuff was so light. They really just gave us a date and then some behind the scenes looks at some stuff.
You think they may have had some Acolyte series planned
and scrapped
because of the feedback?
I don't know, because that would be It would be really close to announce a sequel for that show when Ahsoka did take so long to get its sequel announcement. So I don't think so, but they very well could have.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be surprising. But moving on to some of the next thing before we get into the Marvel news, which is probably the thing we're most excited to talk about, just because for me, even though I like Star Wars better, we just didn't have much to talk about. And we got some news about the new Avatar movie, Avatar: Fire and Ash, coming December 2025. And they did note that there are more emotional stakes than ever before, new cultures, biomes, and settings never before seen in Pandora, which that's not really surprising. I think Avatar movies really try to wow you with their looks. So they're going to have to keep trying to adapt and evolve and make things look cooler and better and add new stuff. Are you a fan of the Avatar movies? Is this something you're really looking forward to?
I absolutely love the Avatar movies. I think Avatar: Way of Water was one of the most gorgeously stunning movies I've ever seen in the theaters. It was beautiful. It was well written. I love the story. I love going to Pandora and kind of getting enveloped in this world that's just unique. It's well thought out. Every aspect of it is very meticulously detailed and just visually pleasing beyond all belief. I just loved it. IMAX 3D was the only way to watch Way of Water, and I was so lucky to get to see it with a bunch of friends. And so I got to see it with Kenneth and got to see it with Zach, and it was just a real amazing time. And so those movies really kind of hold a special place in my heart because I think they are just the ultimate must see in theater movies. And so I love Avatar, and I don't know how you get more emotional stakes. I mean, he literally lost a son in the last one. So losing a child is about as an emotional stake as I can imagine on this world. And so I don't know.
Well,
How do you get more emotional?
Well, I think these movies are like Dune, right? You don't not see these movies in theaters. So I think these are really special. Obviously, they're very beautiful looking and all those things are very exciting. Now, again, I'll ask you, the previous two Avatar movies, I believe the last one, he crossed $1 billion.
Sure. The first one is the
highest
grossing ever.
Yes. And then this one, I think, is Way of Water 3. I think it's 3 or 4.
So I think it's fourth.
Where do you think this one lands? Do you think it's for sure $1 billion? Or?
I think it's for sure $1 billion. I don't think it's even a question. And one of that's because the Asian market just loves them.
Mm-hmm.
Like overseas, these things just blow up. When Infinity War got released, and then Avatar got re-released to take the crown back, it's Asia that really killed it.
Yeah.
They really went like, man, we loved Avatar. We got to go watch it again. The US didn't really turn out for those re-releases quite like the worldwide box office did. So I think just because that market is such a abundant market and resource for box office numbers, I think regardless of how it does in America, I think it's going to get $1 billion.
Yeah, and I think they're deserving of it. This isn't one of those movies that I'm like, why do people go to the theater? I think it's perfectly deserving. I'm in the same boat. I think this one might even pass Way of Water up, but it might be tough just because of how long of a gap we had between them, and the hype for Way of Water was so high.
I think Way of Water was still kind of COVID-y.
That's true too. So maybe this one's even more of a sure shot.
I think this is way more of a sure shot than Way of Water was, because we were definitely still experiencing.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So
COVID.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. But Avatar: Fire and Ash, like Zane said, it's going to be interesting to see how they raise the stakes for this one. I think this is just one of those movies. It's like a generational movie. I think we've seen that with Dune. We've seen that with the Avatar movies. So you looking it up now, it looks like this released in 2022.
So it's definitely still
lingering,
still feeling the effects of COVID. We
sure.
had some people that were scared.
Yeah, so I think this one, like Zane touched on, is for sure a $1 billion movie. Now, the most recent $1 billion movie that we've had is Deadpool and Wolverine. So we will go ahead and hop right into our Marvel news. And let's go ahead and start off with probably the most, the closest, well, I guess not the closest Marvel thing, but the closest movie for us is Captain America: Brave New World. We finally got some more information on that, which it seems like they're really trying to hammer it in at this point, because we've just been getting a lot of new news for this one. We did get our first real good look at Red Hulk, and I think we both agreed looked really, really good. And you've touched on it before, they kind of already have that CGI with the Hulk, but this one does look a little bit more like they took some time. He looks ripped, whereas the Mark Ruffalo Hulk is just kind of big. He's not like you don't see the muscles, as much. I thought Red Hulk looked a lot more ripped in like those aspects. What did you think about the Red Hulk?
Yeah, I don't really think I picked up much on that. I think I realized he had hair, kind of just like
Yeah, chest hair,
Mark
kind of.
Ruffalo's Hulk does. Because I think the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton was like the striated muscles and like absolute savage
A
of a
beast.
model.
Yeah.
And then model as in like CGI model, not like runway model. And I I do think
I just realized what you said. I was looking at our notes and I heard that. I was like, wait a second.
So I do think that he looked fine. I don't necessarily think he looked a lot different than the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, but he definitely was pretty big, definitely massive hulking figure. So I thought he looked fine. I thought he looked a lot like Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Which I heard some people complain that they looked like their actors, and I don't get that either.
Yeah,
like,
you would think that's what you want.
I don't know.
I feel like there would be more of a complaint if they didn't at all.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be.
Yeah, right.
Everyone loves to complain.
You got to have something to complain about.
But did you get more excited because of what you saw?
I don't think so.
Me either.
I think
I got less excited.
I don't want to say I got less excited, but I got so excited when we first saw like the Red Hulk hand catch the Captain America shield and throw it down. I think that piqued my interest in the movie. Seeing him like for real was obviously cool, but it definitely didn't get me more excited.
Well, I think it got me less excited because I've seen I've seen it like several times now. Like the first one was like just a quick glance at him, but now you're showing a little bit more, and it's not even like. When does this get released? Next May?
Yeah, it's close. It's pretty close.
So February. I think it's February.
It is, yeah, February.
So I mean, we're quite a ways out. You're showing a lot of footage already. I don't need to see this whole film in trailers before it gets out. So I think you could have just showed the same trailer, maybe given some descriptions, which I know they didn't release this to the public. This was just a screening. So that's our fault for looking at the cam footage. But
well, it was going to come out anyway at some point.
Yeah, eventually. But we did get our first look at Ruth. Do you know anything about her character?
No, I do not.
So she is the character in the cam footage that kind of stays with the president while Sam is talking to him about having somebody on the inside.
He's the one that's like, she stays with me.
And so a lot of people are actually boycotting this film because she's in it. Because she's there's so much anti-Semitism in the world, and she is a traditionally Israeli superhero named Sabrine, and or Sabra, and so she has some sketchy moments in the comics that aren't necessarily great. I don't think anyone would look at those and think they're great today. I hope not. And so a lot of people are boycotting because she's even in it.
Yeah,
and so I think that's interesting that they didn't cut her from the backlash. I know a lot of people haven't even heard about that backlash, so I don't know if it's just because I'm so enveloped in the community. But yeah, it was cool to see the first look at her and that they are rewriting her character, because it does seem that she's just a spy now.
Yeah, which I kind of like that dynamic. I think it's going to get more so into Sam Wilson trying to figure out more of the dynamic that's going on throughout the movie.
Yeah.
We did touch on, I think previously, we're finally getting our first look at adamantium in the MCU.
Yep.
So
cool.
Give or take it, it's something we were going to get to.
Give me Wolverine or don't.
Right. It's something we were going to get to at some point. I don't necessarily. I'm not. It doesn't make me more excited.
It's so funny because so many people have like, what? Talk about the Eternals in the water, and like,
and they're finally doing it.
It's the one thing I haven't wanted to know anymore about. Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care that there's an eternal
celestial being.
somewhere down in the Pacific Ocean. Like, I don't care. Tell me what's beeping in the 10 rings. That's what I want to know. Like, that's what's driving me crazy. We've had this beeping for the 10 rings since Shang-Chi came out in 2020. Give me, what is going on? Like,
well, I don't know if Shang-Chi will ever get another movie, it sounds like, with the direction Marvel's going, because he gets no love.
No love.
No love.
Seemingly, man, such a done dirty.
He has been done dirty, because that movie was pretty well received.
It was
you
great.
Loved it.
I loved it, man. I think it was one of the best movies since Endgame.
Well, maybe that'll be the end credit scene for Brave New World, as we'll get
the beeping of the shield.
That's all it'll be.
Like something's beeping inside of the shield. What's calling to me? And then they never tell us years down the road.
Well,
my imagination isn't as good as Jacob's.
Yeah,
I can't fill in those blanks.
He doesn't have as much fun as I do. But something that was pretty fun was seeing the first look at the Fantastic Four on set. We finally got to see their suits. What did you think of the suits? I thought they looked pretty good.
I think they look perfect for what they're trying to tell. 1960s throwback, futuristic era in an alternative universe. I think they look great, but that's really as much as I can say. Like,
yep,
it doesn't get me more excited for the film. It doesn't make me less excited. I thought Johnny Storm looked great. A lot of people are saying he's a downgrade from Chris Evans, Johnny, and I disagree from that drastically. I think Buzzcut Johnny is not a good look.
Well, and I think that's also, we talk about it a lot, is nostalgia.
Yeah.
I think people let nostalgia play way too much on their feelings towards new stuff, and I think it really causes issues. I thought it looked fantastic as well. There was actually a teaser kind of shown for Fantastic Four, some of the set pieces and little bits. Didn't really give us much information at all, but there was a little teaser of showing Galactus, which I thought was kind of cool.
Okay.
So I think we kind of knew that's where this story was going to go, but nonetheless, it was kind of cool to see a little bit more of an update on the Fantastic Four. But personally, I think the thing that got people most excited for Marvel is Daredevil Born Again. We really got some good news on that one. We got a teaser, again, not available to the public, but it's pretty easy to find if you guys wanted to search it up on YouTube or X or any of those things. March 2025. What did you think of Daredevil Born Again?
It looked like a return to form, essentially. I was very excited to see so much of Daredevil in the suit, not necessarily in the courtroom.
Yep.
I'm very interested by the Wilson Fisk dynamic that he is going to have to take. It seems like maybe they are going to have to
team up.
I don't know if they're going to team up, but they're going to have some a mutual enemy maybe to take down this Muse guy, which I don't know much about Muse.
Me either.
I'm so thankful that John Bernthal's Punisher is back, which I think that dynamic is the best in all of Marvel, is Daredevil and Punisher. Man, I could not be happier that he's back and he's got his best look with his long hippie hair, with his
kind of crazy looking.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love his Pete look.
No, this is going to be super fun. Now, I did hear this is actually even more graphic and more, I guess, in a sense, evil than the first Daredevil show was. The actor for Kingpin, his name is slipping my mind right now, but he actually said there was a scene that he's surprised is not getting cut from the show because of how graphic it is.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes. So I'm surprised. I'm not really surprised with Daredevil. I'm happy they're leaning into it and actually just going with it rather than trying to hide it behind a bunch of stuff. But again, this does beg the question, is it going to be that blood that we've been talking about so much where it's so unrealistic that they're kind of just doing it for the sake of doing it? What do you think about that?
That makes me zero excited.
Really?
It just doesn't need to be. Like in the first Daredevil, we literally saw Wilson Fisk put a guy's head in a door and smash it until it was crushed. And it was dark, and dark as in like shot darkly, like visually. Not like it was like disturbingly dark.
Right.
Like, man, that was confusing.
They had to save money somehow.
Yeah, like it was dark in an alley, but you got the picture. You didn't need to see the guy's brain matter in the floorboard to understand what happened there. And so I think that's kind of how violence is done well. It's shown, but it's not like detailed.
So you like leaving it up to the imagination.
I just well, see, my brain doesn't go there.
Right.
I don't go and be like, man, I wonder how much brain matters within that door crevice. Man, how'd they get that out of there? Like, I don't.
They had to call in like cleaners.
I don't need to see the cleaners power washing the car to kind of get the area clean. So, not necessarily a plus for me. I love the action, and I think when violence can use to propel the action forward, it's good. But when violence is just shown for violence, as I've said like 75 times on this podcast, I don't like it. So not necessarily a good thing that's been told there. But I'm so excited for this, and I think the most exciting point was we got like 7 Daredevil masks.
Yes. So that's going to be super fun to see how they play into that dynamic.
Yeah.
And I love that there's one scene in the teaser that we got to see with Kingpin, and he's like, well, am I making a deal with you, or am I making a deal with the other version of you? And I think we're going to see lots of versions of Daredevil, which is going to be really exciting to see. One thing that kind of interested me is they did make a note, it was actually a point of emphasis for them, is that Kamala Khan's father was going to be noted in the show, which I'm kind of surprised by. I feel like that doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't really feel like it fits. But what do you think of that? Do you think we see, her in the show as well, or do you think it's maybe to tie the universe together a little bit?
I think Charlie Cox was asked if there's going to be a bunch of crossovers, and he said, I think you'll be surprised about how many there are. So I'm assuming that he needs a lawyer.
Okay.
Right? Somebody's
hit his car or something.
Yeah.
Just something basic.
Well, I would actually say it's probably related to Miss Marvel.
Okay.
So I would say it's something along the lines of that. They had a big part of the Marvels. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if plays directly into that. So I thought that their family was one of the best parts of the Marvels. I really liked what they'd done with them in the show. I think if they would have stayed street level in that show, it could have been one of the best Disney Plus shows. If that show would not have absolutely derailed off into Looney Land for the middle half of the season, I think the Miss Marvel series was going to be one of people's favorites. But they had to time travel and go stupid in it, but whatever. But yeah, I think it's cool that he's in it because it just ties the universe in it a little bit, and I don't hope he's in it a lot.
Maybe just a couple scenes or something.
Yeah, like maybe like one episode, whatever.
Okay. Now, as far as Marvel news for me, this was my most exciting thing that we saw. Was this yours, or do you have something else we're going to talk about?
Yeah, probably Agatha. No, yeah, this is definitely my favorite. It's my favorite Marvel show. It's close. It's close between it and Daredevil.
And Punisher.
Daredevil and Punisher. Those two are so close to me. I almost can't separate them. But yeah, this is by far my favorite IP. I think Charlie Cox is the perfect Daredevil.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can't wait to rewatch the entirety of all 3 seasons. Maybe all the other ones. I don't know. I just watched The Punisher last year again. Man, so good.
Just peak.
It's peak. It's peak Marvel. But anyway, yeah. Best part of D23 for me by far was getting to see the cam version of this trailer.
Yeah, no, it was super good. And, moving on to another thing that's supposed to kind of have that grittier feel to it is Thunderbolts. Again,
Sure.
Not a whole lot of news on this one, but we did get our first look at Yelena. Looks fantastic. I think
she looks like Florence Pugh.
Yep. They did a good job of, having her face on screen.
Yeah, put her face up there.
I think her haircut's a little different. But
it was blonde and
right.
short.
But, not much news from this one. There might have been some stuff that I didn't pick up on as far as, news went. There might have been a teaser shown. If there was, I did not see.
It was not.
Okay, so I did not see anything other than that first look. I do know, I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con, we saw David Harbour dressed up as Red Guardian.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most, I think we got more news at San Diego Comic-Con for this than we did D23.
Well, they had a full panel.
Yeah. So not much look other than the first look at Yelena. But then we do get into some of the more of the TV shows, and we'll go ahead and start with Agatha All Along because it is very quickly approaching us with September the 18th. We did get a new trailer for this one, and I got to tell you, I care so little about this show, I didn't even watch the new trailer. So it's something I need to... No, I haven't watched it. So it's something I need to do, but this is just one I'm not interested in. Did the new trailer for you get you any more excited for this
Dude,
one?
I'm so... I'm messing around during the podcast. I gotta stop. Nah, I'm not too excited for this one. It's meh. It's meh to me.
Yep.
I think Billy or William. I think the name that they were teasing with Wanda Maximoff writing on the sign is actually William for Billy.
Okay.
I think they're teasing Wanda to get everyone excited, and then
surprise!
It's actually Billy. Billy's name is William, and so I think that's where they're going with it.
Okay,
and so that's annoying.
Well, I don't think I do not think they got Elizabeth Olsen to come do this show. I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
we've not gotten any Scarlet Witch news. I think she's too important of a character.
It's too sad.
Yeah. So I think this is too important of a character to drop down to this level of a show because I don't think this is an important show.
Well, Yoda got put in the Acolyte, so...
Well, I'd already voiced my opinions about Yoda. That was the perfect place for him to be. But Agatha All Along, again, no excitement for me there. And another show that really did not get me any more excited personally is Ironheart. We did get some first looks at it. I think the teaser that they showed was okay. I don't really care for the storyline that they're going with, which it sounds like Riri Williams has to give her suit back up. The Wakandans are not going to allow her to keep it. So she's trying to replicate it, but she doesn't have the money. She's not Tony Stark as much as she wants to be. So she's doing some illegal jobs to try to get more money. Did this get you any more excited? I know this is one you were kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, so Riri Williams was actually one of my favorite parts of Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. I love that Ryan Coogler is attached to this. I think that's a big proponent of making this successful. I like the premise. I really like the fact that Anthony Roma was in it. I think he was really, really good in Hamilton, my favorite musical of all time. I didn't really even know he was attached to this project, so it was really cool to get to see his character and kind of what he's going to be doing. I think that's actually a really fun concept, getting kicked out of MIT and then having to do some questionable things and kind of get her hero journey, right? because I think she's going to get a legitimate hero journey in this. She's not just going to be someone who was automatically good and needed to be saved, or came and just smacked some people around and was like, "Ha, I'm the hero." I think we're actually going to get to see her struggle. We're going to get to see her come from a place she's not quite ready for, and get to see her take the superhero mantle of Ironheart in a good way. Tony Hawk was Tony Hawk. Yeah.
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk was not a great skater until he practiced.
Right.
And then after he practiced skating, he became one of the greatest of all time with the best video game self. No, Tony Stark was not the greatest ever. He had a dark history and he had to learn from his lessons. And I think we're going to get to see her journey similar but different, and I really enjoy that. I think this actually looks like it could be one of our better Disney Plus low level stories, and that's kind of what I want to see Marvel Television is give us the intro flushed out to some of these characters that don't really deserve a movie but are going to show up. I think this plays actually great into my prediction for Young Avengers. Marvel Snap, which is a app game, came out with their Young Avengers update right after Deadpool and Wolverine's update. So I was like, okay, now we're getting an Ironheart update. I think at the end of this show, we're actually going to see her progress forward with Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel and kind of get to form the Young Avengers. So I think this was actually maybe their best announcement for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because Daredevil was a great announcement for Daredevil, but I don't think it's pushing the story forward except for his own story. And I know street level, it may push forward the street level, which is something we need. But I really am excited for this Ironheart, and I don't know if it's going to be good. I mean, it's been pushed back for so long. It got filmed so long ago. Obviously, somebody thinks it's not great, but I do think this has a ton of potential and a story I actually do want to hear about.
See, I think I just got really frustrated with the fact that, it feels like we're restarting again. We were introduced to this character already. We already do have a little bit of her backstory. And it felt out of character for me for Shuri to be taking the suit back. I feel like that's something she would have been like, yeah, keep it. After all she did for the Wakandans and helping them fight their battle against Namor, that felt out of character for me. I don't like that she's restarting and having to build a whole new suit when I feel like ultimately it's going to end up being a very similar suit, because I think that's what she's trying to achieve is get back to the suit she lost. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm frustrated with it at. I think I like some of the things you said about the actors and stuff in it. I do like that she's going to have to make some decisions about whether she's good or she's doing stuff for her own good. I think that's going to be a fun dynamic. I just feel like it's a reset for this character, which we already have kind of a history for. She's already been known in the movies and stuff like that. So I think that's where I'm not interested in this one. But
that's a great point. I think it's completely a backtrack from Black Panther 1, which they wanted to share their resources with the world.
100%. Yeah.
And then Black Panther 2, I think it was a misstep for, hey, once again, another step back for Wakanda. Hey, what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. Kind of like again, being like the greedy self-contained country, which they have the right to be. But personally, I do think I think that's a perfect point for you, but I don't think that takes away from Ironheart's character. I think it actually develops her more as a character, right? Her own people that she really connected with, a sister that she really joined with and got the creativity with. She saved Wakanda with her. Yep. And now the people that she saved are turning her back on her, obviously aren't giving her funds. She gets kicked out of MIT. I think this is a villain story that we're actually going to get to see not turn villain, right? So I think it's a great story to be told for her and her character, because I mean that has all of the ingredients for a revenge story.
Well, maybe by the end of this, she will fully play into that villain and she'll be Doctor Doom.
Ooh. we'll have Iron Man and Ironheart as Doctor and Mrs. Doom.
Yes. So maybe that's where they're going. Maybe that's why they're trying to convince us that she's a villain. But no, this one's not really a big one for me. I know you're kind of excited for it, but yeah.
They would need to cast Leo to be Mr. and Mrs. Doom if that was the age gap. You know?
That would be amazing actually if they did that. But no.
DiCaprio steps in with his 25-year-old girlfriend.
Maybe this will be like the Agatha all along. They'll keep changing the name, so it's not going to be Avengers Secret War. It's going to be Avengers Mr. and Miss Doom. But no, this one's not super exciting for me. Zane seems to be a lot more.
This is the
high on it for
content.
me.
This is the content y'all are tuning in for, not actual good takes, just stupidity.
Yes, but you know. I don't even know what to say to that because it's true. But anyway, moving on to some of the animated Marvel news, we got Spider-Man, which the name of that one's slipping my mind right now.
Freshman year.
And we did get some fun announcements about that one. Eyes of Wakanda, which I think I'm more interested in just because of the hint of a character that's going to be in that. Sounds like Moon Knight is going to be in that, which I'm super excited for. And then What If Season 3, I think, also has a little thing that Moon Knight
Bunch of Moon Knight.
And you guys know how big of a Moon Knight fan I am.
Top 3 Marvel.
Yeah, I love him. I talked to Zane a little while back. I think I might need to update my top 3. And I think that's just to really maybe shift Loki out of it, because I know Spider-Man and Moon Knight are staying in there. But I don't know, something maybe I feel like I've been really paying attention to a lot more of the Marvel characters, and a lot more of them have been catching my eye, but we'll talk about that another time. The animated stuff, was there anything in particular that you're more excited for than the others? I know we're running a little late on this episode, so what did you like about what we saw from the animated side?
Yeah, for the animated side, I really didn't care about much of it. I love the What If series. I think it's one of the better things Disney Plus does. I just really enjoy them. The Spider-Man freshman year, give or take, we've seen so many Spider-Man stories.
Yeah.
Like, we could have used a animated film to tell any other character story. And I understand Spider-Man is awesome and good, but like, we've got his origin story time again. And I know this one's a little different with Norman Osborn being his mentor, blah, blah, blah. But whatever. Not excited about that one at all. Honestly, don't even want to watch it because it's not our Spider-Man. It's not related to the MCU in any way, or at least right now. Maybe he'll show up. So, I mean, I would even rather see one of the Sonyverse Into the Spider-Verse animated series over this. Like, just let Sony deal with the animated Spider-Man. Like, as funny as that is to say, like, let Sony have an IP, but like if Marvel buys Spider-Man back, leave the animated rights to Sony. Like, animated and gaming rights stay with Sony, and you can have the live action Marvel. But anyway, yeah, Eyes of Wakanda seems fine. I'm curious if they're gonna I think it was Angels of Wakanda or something. The Ahsoka series that got canned.
Not
Ahsoka, Okoye.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't heard much about that.
They got canned.
Okay,
so they canned that one. So maybe she'll be in this one a little bit. I don't know. Eyes of Wakanda seems fine. I am excited that Moon Knight's going to be in it, but What If Season 3, definitely, by far, my most excited from this list.
Well, and it's funny because Spider-Man's my favorite character, but I feel the same way about Spider-Man right now, because we know we're going to get a Tom Holland movie. It's bound to happen at some point. We are getting the animated Sony-verse movies, which I absolutely love. That's my favorite Spider-Man storyline that we have active right now. I just love the Miles Morales stuff. I think that's going to be really fun to see how that wraps up. But yeah, I feel like Spider-Man's not really needed. Like I said, Eyes of Wakanda and What If are really exciting for me just for the Moon Knight content. I'm super excited to see how that plays in. I'm interested to see, now you might know the answer to this, is Eyes of Wakanda supposed to take place in the MCU timeline?
It is, and one of the exciting things is that Iron Fist is supposed to be in
That's
it.
right, okay.
So
there's another character we'll get introduced to in the MCU, which is cool. So I think that one's probably got the most potential for me on this list. I know you like What If so much, because the stories are fun, they're cool, they get to do a lot of things with that.
They tie in at the end.
They do. They're ultimately leading up to one big story. But I think Eyes of Wakanda, if I had to pick one, just because the Moon Knight stuff is probably my favorite.
Fair.
Yeah.
It's a fair pick.
So I think that'll be fun to see. But that's the D23 stuff that we had. Now, we didn't touch on the other random stuff that they announced, like updates to Disney World and stuff like that, which I think they have some really cool stuff.
Percy Jackson.
Yeah, Percy Jackson. There's a few things we left off there just because we are so not interested in them.
Well, and we're also an hour and 20 minutes into this.
We could go a little longer if you guys want, but I'm sure you guys are ready to click off if you've even made it this far.
Bravo to you if you stuck around this long. We really appreciate it, honestly.
Like I said, make sure to rate, share.
And if you don't, we appreciate the listens.
Yes, seriously.
If it's too much, which, I mean, sometimes writing a review or clicking, you got to make an account or whatever it is. Whatever. But,
just listening is awesome, and we really appreciate it. But is there anything else you wanted to talk on as far as D23 content goes?
Yeah, just a little disappointed, you know. For me, I'm excited for Zootopia 2. That was my
Is that your biggest thing?
That's my biggest thing from all of D23, which is really sad. Zootopia 2, baby.
Mine's probably Toy Story 5, just to irritate Zane a little bit more.
That doesn't irritate me. You can like what you like. That's fine. Just because you like something doesn't mean I don't. You know, it's just like I'm happy that you get to be happy, but it just doesn't make me happy.
Right.
You know?
But that's D23. I'm excited for some other stuff we have coming up in the works for just the podcast in general. I still really want to watch that Batman Cape Crusader. I still think that would be really fun to watch. But I think we're finally going to start to calm down a little bit as far as news goes for a little while.
We do have 2 requests on the docket. We talked about the one last week, which is characters you love to hate. And then we did get a request for Marvel villain ranking and why. Deep dive into Marvel villains. So I'm and specifically MCU only.
Yeah, which is I think is cool.
Which is very good. Now, I will have to ask the viewer if No Way Home, all the villains in that now count. So
it is MCU.
It is MCU now. So do we get to keep their backstories from previous Marvel films? So we'll have to see if Jackie will allow us to keep those in there. But.
Well, Zane asking that is just because his top 3 villains are going to be Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro.
Yeah.
But no, that's all the D23 news we have for you guys. We appreciate you guys sticking around for this one. It was a longer episode, but I think these news episodes are really fun. We get to speculate a little bit, even though we had so much to talk about. We didn't probably get to do as much speculating. So if there's one thing you guys wanted to hear us talk about in particular that we didn't touch on for a lot of it, make sure to request that. Like you said, we already have a few other requests.
Yeah, we get to use our imaginations and imagine.
That's my favorite part. But that's going to do it for this episode of Weekly Fix. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.